Awesome. Now, I hope you learned a ton about DEXs in that last lesson. Now, in this lesson, we're going to be using Uniswap and do some swaps and learn all about how this works. So let's get started. Here we are at uniswap.org. So again, double checking the website, making sure it's secure. Everything looks good. If you want to, you can look around the website if you'd like. But what we're going to do is we're going to launch the app, which takes us to app.uniswap.org. And right now we're on, it shows us on the Ethereum network, which once we connect our wallet, again, our wallet is on the Kovan testnet. So we will connect our wallet. You can click it here or here. So let's go to connect our wallet. We're going to be using MetaMask. They have different options here, but MetaMask is what we will use. And then we have, remember, our two different accounts that we set up in our last one. We're just going to connect it with test one because it has 0.1 ETH in it. And this is just letting us know that it's giving Uniswap the ability to view the addresses of this account. So it's going to see everything in the address, which we need it to. And we're connected. You can see it automatically switched to the Kovan test network. So now everything we do is free. We're not using any real money. We can do any kind of swaps we want. So let's take, we have our ETH and we're going to swap it for, let's get some DAI. So let's say we wanted to pick up 10 DAI. Now when we click swap, we're going to be buying 10 DAI and we're going to be spending that much ETH. And there's the price that it's giving us. 1 DAI is that much ETH. And we will see this is how much is going to go to the liquidity providers. This is how much it's going to change the price. And then this is the maximum slippage. A slippage is basically how much we're willing to change the price for this to go through. So if we were to change it to, let's say we want to buy, exit out, and I'm going to change it to 100 DAI. Now we can see it's 0.005 instead of 0.0005. Now we have a much bigger price impact. So we can see that we're changing the price by 1.38% now. We did 1,000 DAI. Now it's 1.54. And if we did 10,000 DAI, we don't have enough ETH. So we're going to do 100 DAI. There we go. Now, since we're selling Ethereum, we're going to be selling 100 DAI worth of Ethereum, or 0.0059. This is going to bring the price of Ethereum down by 1.38%. Now, obviously, if we were on the main net, it wouldn't be anywhere near that much because there's so much more liquidity, but that's what the price impact is. And then the allowed slippage is basically once we submit this transaction, that's how much we're saying. If it's off by 0.5%, then I'll still want the transaction to go through. But if something happens and the price changes before the transaction goes through and the price changes more than that much, then the transaction will cancel. It will not go through. So this will tell us the maximum of ETH that we're going to be sending in order to buy it. So let's confirm it. It's going to open up in MetaMask. We have 0.00. Yep, that's what we're going to be spending. And we can see the gas fee that we're going to be paying here, which you can see by going in here. We're going to be sending 1 GUI. If only we could get that in the Ethereum mainnet. Perfect. Okay, so that's fine. We're on a test net. 1 GUI is exactly what we would expect. That's how much we're going to be spending. Confirm. And then we can add DAI to MetaMask, which is a really convenient way so that we can see the DAI in our MetaMask here. And there it is. It's already popping up. Don't worry about the logo not popping up. That's because we're on the test net. Yeah, and then that's all we have to do. Now, another thing that we could do if we wanted to do this is we could say that rather than putting in 100 DAI, we can say, I want to sell 0.005 ETH. And then that tells us how many DAI we'll get. So let's see what happens when we do that. We're going to have a price impact of 0.78. Same, we're going to allow that much slippage. And this will tell us, if I'm going to be spending 0.005 ETH, it's estimating we'll get 84 DAI. And it's saying the minimum we will receive is 83. Now, if I were to go here and say, change my slippage, let's say I'm willing to buy it even if it changes by 5%, which I do not recommend doing because you will see why. Now, if we swap it, it's going to be 84, but the minimum we'll receive is 80. Now, if we were to do this on the Ethereum testnet, unless we used a ton of gas to make sure that our transaction goes through quickly, there's a good chance we would be front run and we actually would be getting this much DAI, 80 DAI instead of 84, because someone else would see our transaction before it goes through, they would copy it, they would make it go faster, and they would make a little profit of 4 DAI from that. So front running It's a big issue if you have large slippage, which is why we keep our slippage low. I think it's usually above 2%, maybe. I think at 1%, maybe 1.5. At 1.5%, we might be front run. So 1% slippage is pretty safe. On something like this, 0.5 is great. Or just leave it at auto. This is really something that maybe you don't really want to mess with. And then the transaction deadline, how long do you want to wait for this to go through before it just cancels? I wouldn't mess with expert mode. That's obviously not really necessary for a DeFi 101 course. Let's do it. Let's buy another 84 die. Going through, send it in here. We can double check that this all looks, good. Confirm. And there we go. We don't need to add die to MetaMask because it's already there. It's pending and waiting for it to go through, which we could also see it pending by going into MetaMask. We can see it right there and it went through. Perfect. Usually MetaMask updates before Uniswap will, so it's still telling us it's pending even though it has gone through already. Perfect. And then if we wanted to, we could even switch this around. Let's say I changed my mind. I don't want all my DAI. Let's go ahead and sell all of my DAI back for ETH. Now this is going to require 2 transactions. Anytime we are using an ERC20 token, we have to first do 1 transaction that gives Uniswap permission to spend that. And then we're going to do another transaction that actually spends it. You only have to do the allowance transaction once per token. So I'll show you how that works. Let's say we're going to do 100 now. Allow it to spend your DAI. Tells us a little transaction fee. It's going to be 17 cents, which is totally fine. And then wait for that to go through. And we can see there's an approved DAI spend limit. Perfect. And we'll wait for that to realize that it has gone through. Perfect. And now we can trade DAI. And we won't have to do the allowance transaction again unless they upgrade their contracts or something like that. If we go from Uniswap v3 to v4, we will have to do it again. But for now, we're good. Let's go ahead and sell max. We're going to sell all of our DAI back for Ethereum. Confirm. We already have ETH in MetaMask, so we don't need to do that. Waiting for it to go through. And we'll see our DAI disappear, and we'll see our ETH go back up. And there it goes. It's gone through. Now we actually made a profit here, so that's pretty amazing that we managed to make a profit because we started off with 0.1 ETH and now we have 0.1006 ETH. So that is fantastic news. Way to go, guys. Now we could do other things as well. We have DAI. Because we're on the testnet, there's not that many different options here. So we could do ETH for wrapped ETH. And something you'll notice here, if we do, 0.05, it doesn't say swap, it says wrap because we're just exchanging Ethereum, which is not an ERC20 token, for wrapped ETH, which is an ERC20 token. Now, Ethereum is its own coin and doesn't really work with other ERC20 tokens, so that's what we have wrapped ETH for. Confirm it. Typically, you'll also notice that when you're going from ETH to wrapped ETH or back and forth, the transaction fee is less than it would be when you're actually doing a swap. Perfect. And we have ETH DAI, but we don't see wrapped ETH on here. So that is a problem. Now, in order to see our wrapped ETH, what we're going to have to do is add a token, and we're going to have to do a custom token address. Normally, you'd be able to very easily just type in WETH and MetaMask would know it, but because we're on the testnet, it doesn't. So we're going to have to do this the manual way, which is good practice anyway. So we're going to click these 3 little dots, and we're going to go to View on Etherscan. Now, this is our Ethereum Blockchain Explorer, which we will go into in more detail later. So don't worry about this too much. But the main thing we want to do is look at our latest transactions. And we have our ERC20 token transactions, which was just DAI. So those were our purchasing $100 or 100 DAI, purchasing 84 DAI, selling it all, 3 transactions. Going back here, we can see that we swapped tokens and we have this last token transaction, which was of 0.05 ETH. If we click this, it shows this is where we sent that 0.5 ETH to. And we sent it to a contract, which happens to be the wrapped ETH contract. Now what I'm going to do is copy the contract address to the clipboard. We're going to open up MetaMask again, add token, paste it, and there we go. It automatically fills it in. Click next, add tokens, go back. Now we see that we have 0.05 wrapped ETH and we have our ETH there. So let's go back into Uniswap. We're going to switch it around and we're going to unwrap it. So I'm going to move my wrapped ETH back into ETH. Perfect. Confirm it. And then we're just waiting for it to go through. And there we go. Now we're back here. Let's open up our wallet. We can see that we have, again, 0.1006 ETH with our heavy profit of 0.0006 ETH. Awesome. Now what I want you to do is kind of just go in here and just practice swapping it and learning, playing with different slippages, playing with different settings in here. This is really just kind of a sandbox environment where you can do whatever you want without having to risk actual funds. So the more you understand all of this, the more prepared you'll be for when we go on to more complex things. So have fun, play around with it. Then we're going to be doing a deep dive into money markets, borrowing and lending protocols. Then we're going to be doing some testnet things on Aave, borrowing, lending, that kind of thing. It's going to be awesome.